Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of yeah issues, creative issues, but that's good. That's not necessarily a bad thing, you know. When you're in a studio, that's good.
Yeah.
Creative tensions, it works a lot, you know, and arguments, and you know, you butt heads a lot, and it's naturally part of the creative process, you know.
Yeah. So maybe according to Dave, the period through BSA and Heart of Our Time was like, now we have to come, we have to go metal.
Yeah,
again.
go metal again,
Yeah.
go heavier again, and I think a lot of that was it was an unwillingness to ignore the press, really, and it was an unwillingness. In many respects, it was a worry about the commercial aspect, because obviously there was obviously a practical aspect to it, because these albums were costing a fortune. So if we wanted to continue, we had to get the finances from somewhere to do it. So we've got to sell albums. So obviously there's a very practical aspect, which I can appreciate now. Probably back then I didn't appreciate it fully. All I cared about was the creative aspect of it. You know, I really, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And again, that caused big arguments when we were doing, you know, like I said to Dave, I said, look, you know, in my mind, after breakout, where we have these massive multi-track guitars, they were multi-track 23, 24 times.
When I go home and listen to it,
Huge,
it's multi-track.
massive, like wall of guitar.
How many?
23, 24 times.
By Waterhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So play that part again, John. Stack it. Play that part again, John. 20. I mean, literally, that's ridiculous. Normally, 2, 3, 4 times maximum, but like no, 20. You know. So it just got absolutely ludicrous. You got this massive block of guitar. You can't put like subtle ambiences from British Standard approved to that. It just doesn't work. There's nowhere for it to go unless you've got no guitars and no big drums. The drums were huge.
Yeah.
Dave's voice is huge. We're using Lexicon reverbs and everything. That's huge.
Yeah.
This massive sound. So where do you go with the keyboards? You know. So the only thing I could do to stop being drowned out or to stop just becoming like a support act, which is the last thing I wanted, was it's like, right, I'm going to put a full symphony orchestra on it. So how do you compete with that big sound? The only way you can do it is a full symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that can compete with that wall of sound. But I think, you know, like we were discussing the other night, you know, to do that, you've got to arrange it. You've got to literally score an orchestral part, and to make it sound authentic, you've got to have the authentic sound.
Yeah.
And then you've got to play it authentically. So playing block chords on a keyboard like a string machine,
Yeah.
that has to go. That goes out the window. So what you do is you play one note at a time, just like the real instrument would play it.
Yeah.
So a violin, for example, can play duophonically. It can play 2 notes maximum, maybe 3 to push if you push harmonics into it, but mainly it's monophonic. A trumpet's monophonic; it can only play 1 note at a time.
Yeah.
So that's how that was recorded, you know. So to make it sound authentic, you've got to arrange it authentically, and you've got to play it authentically,
Yeah.
and you've got to have an authentic sound. That takes time, and it took a huge amount of time to do the orchestration. And of course, if somebody doesn't understand that, like Dave didn't understand it.
No.
You know, I think Mike was okay about it. Mike was kind
Stone.
of like, you know, there's something interesting happening here. But Johnny Waterhouse was standing in the wings, waiting to put his guitar part down, looking at his watch, and I was like, don't worry, I'm on the cellos now. And Dave's like, and you can see like the smoke coming out of his nostrils. After
Was
like,
that Dave?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's like cellos, and he's like, and he's off again. And it's like right, we've got it all down.
Yeah.
So I was now right now we've got to mix it. So you can't mix an orchestra at the same time as you're mixing the band, the track. So what you do submixes. So like you do a submix of the drums and get all the drums, drum levels balanced.
Yeah.
You do the same with the orchestra.
Yeah.
And that takes hours. So then you're mixing all the various volume levels of the orchestra and doing rides, mixing rides and reverb here, and maybe that might need a bit of chorus on those violins. And it took hours and hours and hours. And you can just imagine I think Dave wore a hole in the carpet. He was pacing that much, backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And poor old John was just standing there, kind of dejected.
Okay.
You know.
Was he stressed about the costs?
Yeah,
of
of
the
course,
studio?
of course, because it's an extremely expensive studio. You know, it cost a fortune.
Amazon
But
studio.
the thing is, if you want it to sound, if you want the authenticity and you want this album to sound special and you want it to sound huge and you want it to sound unique and you want a real orchestra on there, you've got to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't getting paid. You know what I mean? Nobody was paying me for doing all the orchestration, and it's like, so you know, it's like, well, you've got to pay for it some way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's-
If you'd have hired a professional orchestrator to come in, it would have cost thousands, and
Yeah,
thousands, tens of thousands.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was kind of having to do all that, and I was looking at. I got orchestration books, and I got like, right, okay, how do we do this? How do we do that? What's marcato? Okay,
Yeah.
what's legato? What pizzicato here? What's
Yeah,
the
okay.
marcato there? How does that work? How
course.
can we do that? That's how you make an orchestra sound authentic with a synthesizer. And if you don't do that,
No.
it ends up sounding like a synthesizer.
Yeah.
And the orchestra on that album, it sounds like an orchestra. And the only reason it sounds like an orchestra is because all the time and effort that was put into doing it. But that costs a lot of money, you know.
Yeah.
The end result, and we won an award for it. And
Yeah,
of
you
course
did.
Yeah, we won
I
an
saw
award
it.
for And that wasn't okay. Obviously, it's not just about the orchestra; it's about the whole thing. But it's the orchestration on that album that makes that album special. It's something big and huge and monstrous, and it's big.
It's a
It
great
is
album.
absolutely huge. The sound, it's a wall of sound coming at you. What do you think about Hal? It's just a wall.
Yeah, that's
A
got
wall
some
of sound.
scary sound on that.
Yeah, but it's the amount of pre-production work that goes into producing something like that is just astronomical. Hours and hours, days, months.
Yeah.
And it costs money.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and you either accept that or you just don't do it.
No,
You know, there's no grey area. You can't skimp it.
no.
You know.
It's interesting when you're in it. I can see the picture with
it
John Waterhouse and Dave standing in a room. It's great when we speak of smoke.
Yeah, like the devil.
Like the devil.
Grinding his teeth.
And you were like, oh.
Yeah. I was just kind of whatever. Just whatever. So he'd come in and he'd rant and rave,
Yeah.
scream and shout, and I go, yeah, okay. And then he'd go,
Were you calm or stressed?
Calm because I was totally focused on.
On
No,
the
I didn't
music?
care. No, I don't care. I don't care about people shouting at me. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Because I can shout louder, but I didn't choose to shout louder. I chose to fully focus on what I was doing. I was in the zone. Yeah, you have to be in the zone, you know. So
Creative.
yeah, you have to be in that zone, and so he'd disappear, and then an hour later he'd come back and bang, 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 bang. Yeah, okay. I'm putting the trumpets down. An hour later, French horns, and that's how it was like. But the end result was just like immense. I mean, I'm so pleased with it, so happy with it.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's like, you know, Remembrance Day, time has come. What do you think about Hal? People just say those tracks, that there's just something unique about them.
Yeah, they're
you know,
extraordinary.
and they are extraordinary. And we managed to get the metal in there. We managed to get the huge wall of sound. The production in there, the orchestration in there, all the synthesizer sounds, it's weird synth ambience, it's very strange sounds, which took hours and hours to program.
Yeah.
In there, that do repetitive vocal sound, weird synth sound in time has come, very complex sound,
Yeah.
extremely complex sound to program. You know, sounds very, very weird, but it works.
Yeah,
It works in the track. And all the little ambiences going off in the background, subtle little things going on, and sequences going off all over the place. It took hours to program. It's not you don't just turn. I think a lot of people, particularly heavy metal guitarists, think you go to a synthesizer, you press the on button, and sit back, press the notes, and it just does it all for you.
Yeah, yeah. I have thought about that.
And no,
No.
no.
If you take a track like The Link on the British Standard
Oh,
Crew.
huge amount of programming. That's all. That's a Korg MS-20, an SQ-10 analog sequencer, very, very old, from about
Is that
1981.
program? Oh,
Yeah, it's analog. It's analog.
Yeah.
So you imagine something like a telephone exchange with loads of jack plugs and leads going in, and rows and rows and rows and rows of pots,
Yeah.
pan pot controllers, not pan pot controllers. So the whole thing's manipulated in real time and programmed, hours of work.
Yeah.
And there's no memory, so you have to write down all the settings. So, and a minute kind of blip on the setting will just completely screw the sound up. So you write down all the settings, and then you've got to reset it. And then because it's analog, it starts drifting out of time. It starts drifting out of time. It starts drifting out of tune. So you've got to reset it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, right, okay, and it's an art. It's an art doing that kind of stuff, you know. And it's not something you can be taught. It's something you have to learn by doing it. Yeah. I mean, these are unpredictable machines. These are machines.
Yeah.
You know, they're not computers. These are analog machines. There's no computer technology in there.
No, okay.
Yeah, and that was all. That was the sequencer on the Link, and trying to get it in time as well. Trying to get, you know, and John playing to it. John played to that with the click track. So he had that sequencer going on in his head, and then you've got and the white noise coming in the middle. That's in 12/8. So you've got this weird kind of like 4/4 beat going on, and you've got 12/8 going over it with the white noise effect.
Yeah.
A lot of work. A lot of program. This is not stuff that just suddenly falls out of the sky.
No,
This is stuff that you have to spend hours, days, like I say, you know, working it all out. How's it going to work? You program the sounds, get the interesting sound, and then it's like, right, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
And the DX7, I mean, was just ridiculous. I spent 9 months learning how to work that.
Learning.
Yeah, just learning how to use it.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, a little LED screen about that big, multifunction buttons, frequency modulation synthesis. Nobody'd seen anything like it, you know. All based on algorithms, mathematical algorithms. It's like, what the fuck's a mathematical algorithm? What is frequency modulation synthesis? What does that mean? What is that? Where are the oscillators? Where are the envelope generated? It's like, well, it's all hidden. It's basically, it's all hidden, and you have got to find it. You have got to discover where. And 9 months it took me to work this bloody synthesizer out.
To learn it.
Yeah, 9 months. And I just spent night after night after night sitting down with headphones on, and I have a thing on my lap, and just no manuals, nothing, just learning how to get some theory books, how the synthesis works. And brand new, you know, and I remember reading a report on DX7s, and there was a synthesizer company somewhere down in Bristol, and they repaired these things, and they said something like 75% of all the damaged DX7s that they had into the store to be fixed. No, of 100% of all the synths that they had into the store, 75% of them had never been programmed. They'd never been touched. They just had all the presets intact because nobody could program it. Nobody knew how to program it.
Wow.
And I spent 9 months learning how to do that. For 4 Demon.
For 4 Demon.
4 Demon. 4 Demon for the band.
Yeah. 4 Demon. Yeah.
4 Demon for the band. I bought one 4 Demon for the band. I didn't buy it for me, I bought it for the band because I knew this is a brand new exciting synthesizer.
Yeah.
And it's going to sound unique, it's going to sound amazing on British Standard Approved. You can do all these interesting things with it.
How was it for you? Do you think it was an exciting time to read it?
Well, the programming,
yeah.
you know, learning all the new technology, yeah, fantastic. I mean, I've always cutting edge. I've always been on the cutting edge of technology, and I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to, yeah, and I am now. I use cutting edge technology software, and, you know, yeah, and I love it. It's fantastic. I mean, like, you know, like the education work that I'm doing now, working with Soundbeam technology, which fires out ultrasonic sound frequencies, which you can't hear. So you're looking at between, I don't know, 30 and 40,000 hertz. So it's like the kind of sound that a bat spits out of the moth. So a bat's flying through the air and it's spitting out ultrasonic sound frequencies. So it's above 20 kilohertz. The human ear can't hear that. It's so high in pitch. But it's spitting out these sound waves which travel so fast through space, through time and space, that if there's a fly or a moth, and it hits that insect, it bounces back in fractions of a second, hits the central skull of the bat, and the bat can immediately zone into that insect and kill it in a matter of seconds, and it's literally milliseconds. So this technology has now been invented that fires out ultrasonic sound frequencies and can be used as a MIDI trigger to trigger synthesizers and sound. So you can literally create an invisible piano keyboard in space. And it can be 5 meters long if you want it to be. It can go the entire length of this. And you can literally play a piano just by putting your hands in the air and playing invisible air. And you can play a full symphony orchestra if you want to. And you can have multiple beams. So you can have multiple beams and triggers to this system, this computer system.
Yeah.
And you can literally make music out of thin air. So for profoundly disabled people, it's a dream come true. So for somebody who's paralysed, for example, and the only thing that they can do is blink, you can literally point this beam at their eyelid, and they can blink in time, and they can play music just by blinking.
It's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I do now.
Manchester.
That's what I'm doing now in Manchester. So it's incredible technology, and it's still very, it's still very in its infancy. This technology, you can see it's going to go incredibly, profoundly technical. And what you'll be able to do with it is just incredible. And musicians can use this technology. It's a musical instrument in its own right. The closest comparison is a theremin. You know the theremin? Have you ever seen a theremin?
Theremin, it's an instrument.
It's a musical instrument, but it uses radio frequencies, radio waves. So you literally can play a sine wave or a square wave by putting your hand in space. And the closer your hand goes to the antenna, you can control the pitch. Yeah?
I think
it's a very, very old instrument. It's decades old.
Theremin.
A theremin.
Yeah.
It was invented by a Russian inventor.
Russian.
Yeah. That's where the name comes from. But another example is Jean-Michel Jarre with the laser harp.
Yeah.
So each laser beam, as the laser fire through a prism, the beam is split into multiple beams. Okay, and then each beam is then interrupted by a gloved hand, and or by some kind of reflective area. So it could be a hand with a white glove on, or a mirror, or a piece of paper. And when you interrupt the beam, that acts as a trigger, so that each beam is then connected to a synthesizer. So it could be a sound or a note. So if you've got say you've got 12 beams, then you can have a note, each note of a chromatic scale in one octave, and then you're literally playing laser beams as a piano keyboard, or a trigger.
Was that what the Jean-Michel Jarre?
That's what Jean-Michel Jarre is. That's a laser harp.
Yeah. Have you ever been to one of his concerts?
Yeah, I've been to
one
of his concerts. Yeah, I've seen
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Where was that?
That was in Manchester. That was a long time ago. That was mid-90s.
Yeah.
Mid-90s. I saw Jean-Michel Jarre. Great, brilliant, a huge influence on me.
Yeah.
Brilliant influence.
I think his Oxygen's.
Oh, superb.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that
brilliant
album.
Music.
There were seminal albums. That influenced me. Chewy LaBelle's, Mike Oldfield.
Yeah.
Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen and Equinox. Pink Floyd,
Tangerine
Dark
Dream.
Side of the Moon, Tangerine Dream, Phaedra, Rubicon, Encore. These were all Klaus Schultz, Body Love, and all those great albums. An awful lot of the krautrock bands from around that time: Eloy, Jane, Can, Faust, all those kind of hugely influential on me. Yeah, just kind of Eloy, and listening to those albums was just like, wow, this is interesting. This is somebody taking a form of music. You know what the form is. It can be stuck. You can pigeonhole it as electronica or as ambient music or as rock music. But they're taking this form and they're just flipping it on its head and deconstructing it, taking it apart, rebuilding it, doing something really quite unique about it, bringing in other genres and throwing them in, and let's see what happens. Let's throw it up in the air and see where it lands. That's what interests. Frank Zappa You know.
Yeah, great.
Extraordinary composer, and again, doing weird, bizarre things like playing a guitar solo, and then taking that guitar solo and say, oh, what would happen if I took that guitar solo from that track, and it might be in a completely wrong key. Well, there's no such word as the word wrong. There's no such idea as the word wrong. You forget that.
Yeah.
Forget wrong and right. So what we do is we take the guitar solo from one track, and it's in a different key and a different time signature to another track. But what we'll do is we'll take it out and put it on that track.
Yeah.
What does it sound like? Chances are it'll sound shit.
Yeah, test.
But what if, at that roll of a dice, what if it sounds extraordinarily unique and brilliant? And you wouldn't know unless you tried it. And that's where I come from musically. Somebody who says, no, you can't do that. You can't do that because it's wrong. No, it won't work because it's wrong key. Wrong. No. It's a stupid idea. To me, those are Luddites. Those are musical Luddites. I'm not really interested in their opinion because, as far as I'm concerned, as far as creativity is concerned, there's no such thing as right or wrong.
I think now it's
if it's just creativity, and you just see what happens. If it doesn't work, then you just okay, but at least you've tried.
Yeah.
You know?
Now we start talking about like kind of Beatles.
Yeah, exactly.
John Lennon and George Martin, Strawberry Fields.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's all. The reason that it sounds so unique, and the reason that it's so original, is because they weren't afraid of making fools of themselves. They weren't afraid of being wrong.
No.
They weren't afraid of failing. Who gives a fuck?
No, they were completely open to what was happening.
Let's be open to ideas.
Yeah.
Let's be open to the new.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
Do you like the Beatles?
Oh God, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Extraordinary then.
Of course. I mean, you listen to I remember spending a whole night at Andy Dale's house.
Yeah.
The bass guitarist from Demon, and we just listened to the White Album all the way through, and then we listened to it again, and it was just like, you know, it's, what is this? You know, how could you have that track and then this track and then this track and then.
That's a really interesting album.
Yeah, and that was one of the inspirations for DDR, because to me it sounded again like you've got so many different ideas.
Yeah.
It sounds like some kind of like a compilation album. Somebody's getting all these different things, and they're just saying, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just do it and see what happens. Let's have some fun. Yeah. And it sounds like they're having fun, and let's just do it.
Yeah, they're having fun. Yeah. Wild Honey Pie.
Bizarre.
That's bizarre.
Rocky Raccoon.
Rocky Raccoon,
like, what is that about? And Piggies, and you know, and then you got Helter Skelter.
Yeah,
and
rock.
And then you got Revolution Number 9. You know, that bizarre kind of like music concrete collage.
Yeah, Yoko and John and George Harrison experimenting
with sounds and tape editing and cut and paste techniques. Which they got from people like Schopenhauer, not Schopenhauer, from oh God, what was his name? I can't remember his name. The guy who invented music concrete. Schaefer, Louis. Schaefer.
Yeah.
Invented cut and paste techniques, recording trains. You know, at the turn of the last century, that long ago. So recording a steam train coming past, and then on tape, and then cutting the tape up, chopping the tape up, and then re-gluing it back together with tape, and then creating rhythmic collages of the train sound effects.
Is that on Revolution Number 9?
That's how That's where. No. That's the guy who invented music concrete.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the guy who invented music concrete. Pierre Henry, you know. Just do this extraordinary stuff with found sound. So the idea of music going from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony to that, and that's music.
Yeah.
So this completely different. I mean, you imagine that. You imagine sitting around with a symphony orchestra or Beethoven, and said, you know what, I'm gonna make a new album, and say, oh yeah, right. What instruments are you using? Well, I'm going to use that pine pot. I'm going to use this spoon. I'm going to use this table, and I'm going to go, and that's it. That's the album.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do, I'm going to record those sounds, and then I'm going to vary speed them, make them slower, make them faster, drop them in pitch, make them go backwards, and let's see what happens. You imagine Beethoven? Beethoven's like, what? cellos, we're a fucking rock band, and storming off. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of that's what was going on in Demon.